Questions about the settlement that resulted in moving Silent Sam off the campus of UNC Chapel Hill. The Confederate Memorial had become a flashpoint of protests on campus. It was toppled in 2018 and put in storage. Then a deal was struck. The university agreed to give the statue and $2.5 million to the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A lot of people have complained about the deal, and the timing of how it went down is also raising questions. The UNC Board of Governors approved the settlement before the lawsuit taking up the case was even filed in court. And now WBTV Chief Investigative Reporter Nick Oxner has uncovered proof the judge who signed off on the deal was communicating with the lawyers involved before the formal process had begun. Judge Allen Baddour has not commented on the process. UNC said in a statement, these communications are in full compliance with the rules of professional conduct for attorneys and the North Carolina Code of Judicial Conduct. Nick talked to a law professor who specializes in judicial ethics, and he disagrees.
It is perfectly normal to agree to sign off on settlements that are satisfactory to both parties. But when a judge is actively a part of that process before there is a process, I think it would make me understandably uneasy.
Nick, appreciate you coming by to talk about this. Obviously, this was a story that was getting statewide attention when the protests were happening. Then it was toppled, Silent Sam, and then taken away. Tell us how you got looking into this issue of then what happens to Silent Sam afterwards.
Yeah, well, this got on all of our radar when we got a surprise press release from the UNC Board of Governors the day before Thanksgiving that said, hey, we've approved a settlement with the Sons of Confederate Veterans to give this organization the statute, Silent Sam, and $2.5 million. So the Board of Governors meets, right. They approve a settlement. The lawsuit is filed a couple hours later, and then within an hour from that, Judge Allen Baddour signs the consent decree approving the settlement all the afternoon before Thanksgiving.
Timing is everything, I guess. Yeah. And that name is also going to be familiar to people, right?
Yeah, the Baddour name, certainly. Yes. Dick Baddour, Allen Baddour's father, was a longtime athletic director at UNC Chapel Hill. And Allen Baddour himself went to undergrad and law school at UNC. He is in a judicial district that includes Chapel Hill. It's where he currently practices. He has a lot of long and deep ties. So when you see something like this chain of events that plays out in the span of hours, nothing in North Carolina's court system moves in hours.
And we're finding out through the records that you've been able to find here is that this was moving at breakneck speed because actually conversations have been ongoing already.
That's correct. So we say, how did this happen so quickly, right? And that's why I put in a public records request, because I wanted to know more. Right. There has to be something else there. So finally, we last week got some text messages between Judge Baddour and the attorney for the UNC Board of Governors, a guy named Ripley Rand, a law school classmate of Judge Baddour's. It turns out that the two of them had, at least that we know of from these text messages, 5 conversations.
So you got these text messages. How difficult was it to get those, and are you confident that you got everything?
Yeah, so a couple things on that. We made a public records request right after Thanksgiving for these records. We just got them last week. It took more than a month and a half or so to get these records. We're talking about 3 screenshots worth of text messages that are explicitly public record. We only got them after our lawyers had to get involved. And the unusual step of a lawyer writing a judge and saying, hi, you might be violating the Public Records Act if you don't produce these text messages.
Implications of this are what?
Well, so we spoke with a law professor who's an expert and kind of specializes in judicial ethics at Indiana University. And he said, look, this could be a violation of 1 or 2 different points of the Code of Judicial Conduct. Mainly, the main theme around which is a judge is not supposed to do anything to call to question the impartiality of the judge. Because when you're sitting as the court, you're on the bench.
He's the third party.
That's correct. Yeah. And so the expert we spoke with said, look, if you are involved in trying to mediate some dispute ahead of it being filed in the court, you should not also be presiding over that case once it is filed. And that's obviously what happened here.
basically at this point, would someone have to file a complaint about this, and what would happen going forward with this?
You know, so in North Carolina, we have the Judicial Standards Commission. That's the body that kind of polices judges, if you will. They investigate, they can privately censure judges, they can issue public reprimands or remove judges from the bench. But that remains to be seen if that would happen in this case. So
we know you will stay on top of it for us, Nick. Appreciate it. Great reporting on this. We encourage you to go read the full report that aired earlier today, WBTV.com.